GrokTALK.
Jean Shaheen and her allies are making false claims about her record on veterans. The truth? Shaheen refused to meet with veterans pushing for reform. She wasn't on the committee that wrote the reform legislation and refused to co-sponsor important VA reforms in the VA Management Accountability Act until after the VA scandal broke. When our veterans needed her, Jean Shaheen was AWOL. Tell Jean Shaheen to stop distorting the truth and fix the VA. 3, 2, 1.
We'd like to welcome you to another edition of GrokTALK, brought to you by New Hampshire's leading conservative blog site, GraniteGrok.com. We are your feared extremist, right-wing, hard-charging, gun-toting, opinionated, outspoken, rabble-rousing, letter-writing, radio microphone-stomping conservatives and rational libertarians. So get ready for more news and opinion you could only get from GraniteGrok.com.
GrokTALK.
Wow, my fans are asking me to lip sync my intro. That's a little weird. Anyway, welcome back to GrokTALK. GraniteGrok.com. Bloggers, on the air, live streaming. I've been trying to tweet some things out during the show, which I didn't usually have time for, but we're working on it. We're always expanding our options and trying to reach out into new media and all kinds of things like that. Make sure you go to cnht.org and check out what they do. They're the kind sponsors of the space that we occupy, that we share with a lot of other organizations, but they pretty much leave all our crap on the table so that we can do our thing every week, and that's what we're here for. News, opinion, commentary, politics, and let's get right back to that because we have another House candidate in the building, in the room with us. Christine Ivinjack is joining us, and you're running for the New Hampshire House as a write-in candidate in where, correct?
That is correct.
Okay, good. Let me make sure I have you on the right microphone because we keep mixing them up and it gets me all confused. So welcome to the program.
Thank you.
Running as a write-in. Why is a write-in?
Because I was very passionate about what was going on, and in the primary, I lost by very few votes.
How many?
And I do not like
Handful?
to lose.
Handful of votes?
Well, no, it was a little more than that. It was more like 90-something.
That's still not that many. I mean, this is where, right?
Yep.
Right. So how was turnout?
Very low.
Low. See,
it
that's
was
the
just
problem.
disappointing.
It's so hard to get people to turn out for primaries, you know.
It
and
is.
really,
Yep.
you know, we talk in Merrimack. We had a candidate who had been in the House for a couple of years, and she was really anti-right to work, and we had worked really hard. Even AFP New Hampshire had come in and done a mailer to try to get her out because we had a good replacement, good solid young conservative guy, and Kathleen Stroud was the candidate that was really pretty good on a lot of things, but really bad with unions, and she lost by 24 votes.
Oh
and
my
that's
God.
how close it was. And I mean, I went out and I talked to all the people I know in town that I could have some sway with. And I told them, I said, we got to get rid of her. You know, I mean, we can't send her back to Concord. I mean, if we have to, fine. But we have a choice. And that's what it's all about, 24 votes. And I don't know that she challenged it or not, but it stood up. You know, we had the guy who won on a couple weeks ago. But that's it. You know, if you can get 50 or 100 people who might not normally go to a primary, you know, then you win. But it's hard to get them to do that. It's just the primary. They're like,
people.
you know, but the primary is the most important one.
I stressed that over and over every time somebody came to me and said, so how'd you do? I go, I don't know. I didn't see you out at the polls.
Ivinjack.
So.
How did I get that wrong? I wrote it down wrong.
You got the V and the I mixed up.
I got the
That's
V and the I mixed up.
That's all right. I'm used to it. That's why I didn't even bother to correct you.
Well, why don't you say it so we get it right?
Yeah, really. Thank you. Sorry.
So, Christine, who else is running in that race?
Neil Kirk, Gary Hopper, Dan Donovan. That's the Republican side.
Okay.
Lisa Wilbur.
And the reason that you're running, what is some issue, what issue differences with those folks?
I think just because I live and work in town, I do own a small business. I've had dealings locally, and so I started getting involved in looking at people's records, and I think nothing's ever really been challenged before. So a lot of these people get in over and over because nobody rocks the boat, and that's what I'm doing.
I'm sure they love the fact that you're jumping in as a write-in.
No, they don't. Not even a little bit.
Yeah, you think?
No, the word on the street is there's some nervous people out there, and they should be.
Good.
And I've had people say, I've never seen these people work. as hard. And I said, why were they not working all along?
Yeah.
You know, because I think they take it for granted.
Do you have one special issue that you feel is really like a potent one for you that you want to run with?
I think for small business, only because I deal with it every single day. And it's so hard to go to work every day, open your door, see all the overhead, do the unemployment, and every time we extend that. And that money comes from somewhere. So things like that makes it really hard for us to stay open and struggle with. And we work really, really hard, you know, and it's exhausting. I don't mind working for what I have, and I do. But when it becomes harder and harder, it's sad. It's sad what it's come to, honestly.
Absolutely.
So that's it. That's really my main objective, and of course healthcare and just all that.
Well,
it all has to do. It all plays into the small business.
I don't think people get that. You know, about minimum wage issues. They don't get that it affects small business. We were talking to somebody last week, I think, or I had a conversation with somebody about this. I don't remember if it was on the air or not, and they were pointing out that, you know, the left wants to raise the minimum wage, which I've demonstrated on GrokTALK.com that's a complete waste of time in New Hampshire just because of the strata of what people get paid. But what it does is it favors big business, because a big business can absorb another $3 an hour wage across thousands of employees, whereas a small business owner who maybe has 10 or 15 employees can't necessarily absorb that cost. It eats their margin away so sharply that they have to make radical changes to the way they run their business. And that makes them less competitive.
I would submit that even large businesses can't really handle that. You know, you multiply it by all the thousands of employees. Ultimately, it hurts the margin no matter who's involved.
It's true, but they can make adjustments. Like International Paper, for example, is one of our customers at Glacier Computer. They have hundreds of thousands of employees all over the globe. If they just change how much tape they use on a box, they can make that money up in a week.
Right.
So, you know, I mean, you don't have that kind of... I worked at UPS for years. They used to tell us, when you're retaping boxes, use this much tape based on the box, the weight, the size, the carton, and all these other things. Saving a couple inches of tape a couple 100,000 times a day is a lot of money. And it just, you know, small business owners have no way to adjust their margins to compensate for that.
Stephen, what you're talking about is common sense, right? Again, common sense, but also the political ramifications of why this is just bad policy. Unfortunately, I don't believe the Republicans have been really good about communicating just why it's bad policy. And, you know, in the debates, this kept coming up. The leftists that are running, minimum, my opponent's not for minimum wage, increases.
And they give you the lies every time. You know, this is going to increase the middle class. Well, no, it's not, because if the middle class doesn't have a job, it ain't middle class anymore.
Right, but you see, they don't say that. That's what I'm saying. Here's this perfect opportunity where you have these politicians that are going to fight on this.
Don't worry.
And
it's fine.
Yeah, but it's pertinent to why you're running.
This is exactly what I'm talking about. And people don't understand. They put all these regulations and all these taxes, and they just keep going on and on. And when I first started business, I opened it. It was my husband and I, and we had one employee. We didn't have one customer. We said, we're going to do this or we're going to sink, and that was the end of it. And we built it up, and we went up to 5 employees. And then over time, and we've been in business 11 years, and over time we're back to 1 employee because...
What is the business?
We do, it's automotive repair.
Okay.
And used cars on the side. So majority of our business is automotive
so you
repair.
You grew your business.
Yeah, we grew it, and with all the taxes, I think in end of 08, 09, it just went to crap.
Yeah,
actually, when we did the cash for clunkers, that was awful. Yeah. That was the worst program.
That's another good program, right? Give it to you by
that
the
was,
progressives.
Well, don't feel bad. 2009, the company I worked for, we had grown to 32, 36 employees, and we went back down to a dozen.
Sure.
Yeah.
Right. So, I mean... There's just these pressures,
and
regulation.
Just wait until next year when Obamacare starts to come into play.
And then again,
well, it's already happening.
But,
my employer can't tell me yet how bad my premium and deductibles are going to be for next year.
Right.
But I'm going to find out in November. And again,
after the election, right?
Right.
Yes, November 15th, we can log in.
Yeah. So, I'm not on Obamacare. I mean, we have a decent private program, but when it changed last year, it became more expensive and had higher deductibles, which hurt this year. And I have every reason to expect that they're going to be under pressure, and it's going to increase the deductibles.
That's the whole point, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Because then they get you off your private care.
And this all gets us back to messaging. They're bad on the minimum wage message. We've talked about why it exists. They're bad on the health care message.
Yeah.
You've come to help.
God, I hope, because I'm going to talk as loud as I can when I get in.
Yeah.
Well, for New Hampshire now, this issue is huge because New Hampshire's economy is dependent on the small business. We're not like one of these big states that has all kinds of, multinational, corporations that keep the state somewhat afloat. We're a niche economy here in New Hampshire. We're becoming more nichier, unfortunately. Yeah. But, so you have a really strong message in talking about the small businesses, and it's one that we should be championing, especially here in New Hampshire.
Absolutely, because of the taxes. That's why we don't have any of the bigger companies coming in here. Who would? So we have to take care of the small businesses, and we're not doing it. And it's becoming harder and harder. We don't even want to stay here and do our own business. We want to sell everything and go someplace else because it's crazy.
So the middle class comment that you talked about, Mike, which they were spewing with in these four debates.
Right. The Democrats will tell you that they're for the middle class, but
what is the middle class?
Well, I'll tell you what it is.
It's the biggest threat to the Democrat Party that exists.
Exactly. It's the hard-working, educated, self-improving people that do not want that do not want. Yeah, I've put the camera on Christine. Do not want government interference. And so the first thing that any socialist regime does is it hollows out the middle class, all the while saying that it is in fact helping and supporting the middle class by giving them stuff that they take from other members of the middle class. Or we're going to raise the poor into the middle class by stealing from.
Right.
You think they're stealing from the rich? No, they're stealing from the middle class.
Right.
They're stealing from the entrepreneurs that have managed to make it up to maybe, if they're really lucky, a few $100,000 a year because they've built up a franchise of McDonald's or Dunkin' Donuts or something.
You didn't build that.
No, of course not. Because don't forget, Elizabeth Warren built the road to your business.
Yeah, right. Isn't that amazing? Hiawatha.
Because she originated that.
Make sure you thank her at your event Friday.
Excuse me?
Is it Friday, Saturday, or something coming up?
Yeah, I haven't.
Isn't she campaigning in New Hampshire soon?
We're talking music. We're talking
Elizabeth Warren?
No, you.
Yes. Oh, yeah.
Screw Elizabeth Warren.
Boy, you're really off the tangent here. Which one are we talking about?
No, the road that goes to your
opera.
Thank you so much.
I finally caught up with him.
I'm sorry.
My squirrel was running a little slow today.
We're gonna take a break while everybody catches up.
Hang on a minute. Right back. The squirrel was running a little slow today.
I'm sorry.
Save the squirrel.
I missed the squirrel.
We're gonna make fun of Jane Shaheen for a few seconds. We'll be right back.
New Hampshire is famous for scenic drives, but they're tough to enjoy when you're on your way to the doctor. Because Obamacare limits your choices, some will have to drive more than an hour to see a doctor. What's health insurance worth if care isn't there when you need it? Jane Shaheen voted for Obamacare, putting your doctors and hospitals further out of reach. Tell Senator Shaheen Obamacare is not working for New Hampshire.
GrokTALK.
Good one. I like that.
All right, go ahead. Tell him.
All right, so here we go. We're laughing because the squirrel went on a tangent here. And for those of you that don't know, I run a small nonprofit opera company called Piccolo Opera. And on Friday, we have our premiere event. It's a Halloween opera ball. And I would like to extend an invitation. Since I believe that Senator Warren will be in New Hampshire, pushing for her candidates, her side of the progressive spectrum, I think she should come to our Halloween opera ball. She could dress as Hiawatha. Somebody said that they can even give her a canoe. Now we have a costume opera ball, a costume prize of $100, and I bet you she could win that prize if she came as Hiawatha. I love it.
I bet you she could. That's as funny as heck. Oh, look at that.
Come on out.
The laugh was there.
All right, so we were talking about roads that we didn't build.
Yes. You know what?
The government built them with our money.
Yes.
That's okay. We don't want to go there. It'll upset the progressives.
It's that federal money tree again. Remember, that belongs to,
tree.
just falls from the sky and grows on this tree, and it's all their money, and it doesn't cost you anything.
That's right. Liz Warren has one in her backyard.
Oh, my God.